Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to do my full review on the Skiff Made Blades Drifter. And this was loaned in to me by my brother Jake over at Bearded Gear. Go check out his channel. I will link it below for you. Really awesome dude and doing some cool things these days. And yeah, he sent me this awesome knife. Not a cheap knife, but he was willing to let me check it out. And I need to wrap this up. And I'm going to try to be brief here because I tend to ramble and because I need to get back to my kid who is waiting for me downstairs with her mom. So, if you want to know the quick and dirty sort of synopsis, I think it's a beautiful knife. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's well worth the money. I believe these are like $9.75 table. I think he paid for this. I've seen them go for like $1,200, $1,300 secondary, so it depends on where you get it. So I think it's beautiful, great materials, and worth the money. Yet I would not buy one, and I'm glad that I never did because I had thought of it many times. And we will get into why. So let's talk about the aesthetics. It's gorgeous, absolutely. This blade is absolutely sexy. I love a sheep's foot, Warncliffe type blade. I love this beautiful milling pattern. I believe I did a first impressions tabletop sort of thing with this knife. I believe it was part of like a rapid review thing. So it was probably like 7 knives, real quick, first impressions, something like that, if you want to find it. And get a good view of it, but has excellent milling pattern on the scales, the clip, I mean, everywhere. Beautiful ano work. Even that pivot collar is absolutely stunning. Just very, very detailed, very beautiful. It's Drifter number 182 that's inside the scale there. Just really nice. This is a CPM 154, I believe, not 154 CM. I believe it's CPM 154. A lot of custom makers like to use that. I would classify this as a custom, whether you want to call it a high-end production or custom. You know, they're made one at a time, basically, by the Skiff, so I would call it a custom knife. Yeah, so aesthetically, gorgeous, right? Ergonomically, it's really comfortable. Fits my hand really well back here. I have a large glove size hand, and it fits in this back grip. And then you have this excellent choil here that works really well. And then you can ride up onto the spine of the blade. The spine of the blade has swedges on both sides. So you end up with a really thin piece right here. And when I kind of go to choke up like this, that's where my thumb lands, and it's a little bit uncomfortable. If I bear down a little bit, my thumb is getting really, like, squeezed onto that thin piece of metal, and it kind of sucks. But, I mean, who's doing crazy hard work with this thing? I don't know, but some people will, so I want to make that, point there. But ergos are fantastic on this knife. The carry is good. I have no issues carrying it. You don't have a ton sticking out, but you got a good bit sticking out. It's got great retention on the clip. It's a long clip, which is interesting, which, normally as a lefty, I would like that if it had a reverse flicking option because I can ride it. But with a flipper, it just doesn't really matter, and it honestly seems a little bit too long. Just odd, sort of, right? But it does have a landing pad under there that's not milled out, which is excellent. So carry is fine. It's not heavy. It's not lightweight, but for its size, I wouldn't say it's heavy at all. There is no milling inside, so that's part of that weight. But again, not, heavy or anything. It is dead nut centered, by the way. So yeah, carry is fine. I didn't carry it all that much because, again, it's a very expensive sort of custom knife from a friend, and I don't want to mess it up. So I try to be really careful with that. And honestly, yeah, I mean, unless you have somebody who's carried and used this a absolute ton, like maybe Jake, it's going to be hard to get a very, very detailed full review. I'm calling this a full review, but you could kind of see it as an overview considering I carried it very minimally, right? I also cut with it very minimally. Cut a couple packages open, shipping labels, and I believe I cut like one piece of cardboard just to feel it out. And it's an excellent blade, excellent edge. Guess we're getting into cutting here. I love the blade shape. I cut some shipping labels, and this thing is perfect for that. That tip is going right down. You get good pressure on it, and you can cut those labels out for days. For me, that's very important. So cutting, I think, is great. It does have a sort of hand satin on it, I would call it. And then like a mirrored hand satin up on the flat. So it takes fingerprints a lot. You basically need to carry around a hank or a cloth with you when you carry this knife. But I'm kind of used to that. I mean, I just got this EMP EDC Thick Boy. And, I mean, this thing fingerprints like nobody's business. Like, to the point where I can't even get the fingerprints off. This thing's amazing, by the way, guys. It's just a guillotine. Love it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm used to that. But it cuts great. The steel, I think, is fine. I wish they would use better steels at these price points. It's starting to get a little bit ridiculous. You know, people's argument is 154 or CPM 154 is easy to work with. And I've talked about this before. I'm paying you $900 for this knife, $1,000 for the knife. I don't need the steel to be easy to work with. Like, I need the steel that I, as the customer, would prefer. And it's not like M390 or 20CV or whatever, LMAX or whatever you could use. Even S35. I mean, those things aren't, like, hard to work with. Maybe not as easy as this, but, like, I don't know. That argument just seems kind of silly to me. Anyway, that is cutting. Sounds. The sounds are excellent. Custom knives just have a great sound to them. Really good click out. Sucks it in. I mean, it's not like overly amazing or anything, but it's nice. For sure. I'd put it up there at 7 or 8 in sounds. The action, and that's where this knife loses me. I can see the beauty in knives and all of that. Like the Holt haptic. I really like the Holt haptic. I've had 2. I've sold 2, though. So even the haptic with epic action doesn't stick around. It's flipper only, and the D10 is just too strong. And that is the same way I feel on this. The D10 is just a little too strong. Even though it has this huge flipper tab, it's another negative for me, is this huge pocket pecker with no jimping or anything, and a strong detent, which is cool. It's nice that you have the leverage for that strong detent, but if you flip this thing like 10 times in a row, it already starts to, you feel it on your index finger. And maybe I'm a baby, right? Whatever. But that's my experience. Just a little too strong for it. But, like, I also don't want it to be weaker because I don't want the knife to feel like it has crappy action. So, it just is what it is, and I just don't prefer the flipper on this knife. It works great. It flips out. The detent's awesome. You know? It just, for me, doesn't work. I want to fidget with my knife over and over and over. So if you're the guy who takes it out, flicks it open a couple times, cuts whatever, and puts it away, you know, and admires the beauty, great, right? But if you're going to sit there and fidget with this thing over and over, I feel like it's probably not the knife for you. If I just, you know, really go for it every time, it's less of an issue. But then there's a time like that where I miss it, and then my finger slides off, and it just, like, it hurts, you know? So, you know, I just don't like that. And then my biggest reason for not wanting one of these is it's just not drop shut. Like, and I talked to Jake about it, and he said he's handled new ones, broken in ones, like ones that have been disassembled and cleaned and everything, and they're just not drop shut. And I'm guessing that's because of the lock bar pressure to get that detent, right? But it just kind of is weird because Skiff they're the people who make Skiff bearings. So I just, not that Skiff bearings are supposed to make your knife drop shut, but like, I don't know. I just assumed that's what you would get with it. It's very smooth. It's very good action, guys. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying for me personally, I would want it to like guillotine shut. Especially the size of this knife, the 3.5-inch blade, and the weight of it. It should drop shut, you'd think. So, I don't know. That's their choice, and I get it. And a lot of people don't like that. They want to be able to close the knife on their own and not have it guillotine shut. So, it's kind of an old school feel to me is what I'm getting at on it. And that's why it's not for me. Overall, I think it's an amazing knife. It's a gorgeous knife. Everything that you hear about it, everything that it's all true. It's amazing. It's just not made for me personally because of that detent being a little strong and the flipper being a little pokey. That seems to be an issue with a lot of custom flippers. The haptic is like that. Sharp by Design knives are like that. For me, again, personally, and the action just isn't. The action just isn't there on the close for me. So that's why I wouldn't buy one. So I'm very grateful to Jake for letting me check his out because it just saved me like $1,000, right? Which is why we do it. That's why we loan each other knives. We don't loan each other knives so we have something to review. We loan each other knives because we're interested in that knife and we want to check it out and learn more and see if we would want one, And this thing is an excellent example of a knife. Beautifully done. Great ergos. Great action. It really is super smooth. So I think if you're looking at one of these and you're okay with not having a guillotine, if you want your knife to do this, then you probably don't want to pick up a Skiff Drifter. But if you like a controlled close or a shaker, then, this is definitely the knife for you. Plus, it's gorgeous. All right, that's enough, guys. I really appreciate you checking this out. Thank you again to Jake for letting me borrow this sucker. I'm going to get it on back to you with the Spyderco Subvert that I want nothing to do with. Hate that knife so much. Guys, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, that would be awesome. Hit the like button, notification bell. You could join my Patreon. That'll really help support the channel. I have a memberships thing on YouTube. There's a link down there. You can join. I plan on doing a lot more with Patreon and memberships next year. I am starting a knife company with my buddy Colin, CM Knife Designs. And what I was thinking was I could offer Patreon members and membership members early access to pre-orders, or whenever I have a drop, I'll always offer it to them first. I'll give them a day or whatever. I'll figure it out. And that'll be an incentive for joining because I really suck at the incentives. I've given away knives in there before. I've done modded knives to give away. I've done like exclusive videos, but I'm just not consistent with it and I don't do it enough. I know that. So if you feel like you're not getting enough out of it, please feel free to cancel. I'm not expecting it. But I do plan on doing more with that in 2022. It's kind of one of my resolutions for the channel. And I think part of that's going to be the knife company playing a factor and getting early access and maybe discounts or whatever, right? So that'll be the plan. Anyway, I love you guys. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. And I will catch you later.